would I say?
Just support WrestleTalk. Give the channel a subscribe.
Hi, support WrestleTalk, and I forget the rest of the line, so we're just going to take this again. Give us a subscribe.
Yeah, I struggle with it as well. I always trip over it.
Give us a subscribe.
That's the one.
Okay. What's it? Support
You're the
WrestleTalk.
star here.
Okay. Hi, this. Support WrestleTalk. Hi, support. Okay. Hi, support WrestleTalk and give it a. Jesus! Oh my goodness! Right, sorry. Take 10. Support WrestleTalk. Give it a subscribe.
There you go.
Okay. Hi, support WrestleTalk and give it a subscribe.
So enunciated.
Support WrestleTalk!
Could Adam Cole be heading to AEW? We're getting more NXT call-ups, and we're going to go through the AEW NXT Wednesday Night War ratings. That was balls. And we'll be going through your mailbag questions. I am Luke Owen. This is Adam the Blompier with the Mostly. How are you doing, Adam?
I'm fine. I'm having a great morning so far. How are you?
I'm fine. I've watched a lot of DuckTales this morning, so I'm feeling very, very good about myself.
Yeah, we had a little chat this morning before we started recording about about the DuckTales cinematic universe. I'm personally more of a Darkwing Duck fan myself. I have a picture that a friend of mine drew of Darkwing Duck just on my wall, but you can't see it.
Amazing.
But it's the best. It's the best.
Well, when there's trouble, you call DW. And perhaps, listen to this for a segue, AEW will be picking up the phone to Adam Cole. It's basically there. This partly comes in from a mailbag question we had from King Chad, who said, I'd like to hear your thoughts on the speculation regarding Adam Cole jumping ship to AEW. While Cole certainly isn't in a secure and strong position in NXT, what is his ceiling? Isn't there a possibility that when he inevitably jumps to the main roster, he'll suffer the same fate as previous call-ups? Triple H can't protect them all. Seems to me his career potential is much greater working with the elite than the hashtag 3-week push on Raw. So this does come from, and this is speculation. We don't want to say like this is not no one's saying this. Like Dave Meltzer's Wrestling Observer newsletter has got nothing about Cole in this regard. But there is some speculation that Adam Cole's contract is up in August, and Wrestling Inc. are reporting he's yet to re-sign with the company, and so Wrestling Inc. claiming there are rumors are starting to circulate about his next destination. According to Wrestling Inc. sources, they're saying Adam Cole has two options. One, he would re-sign with the company and get called up to the main roster, or two, go elsewhere, which I don't think you need sources to work that one out. Yeah, and we've seen Matt Riddle be announced for the main roster. He's heading to SmackDown. Our own Louis Dangoor has exclusively reported that Donovan Dijak, is heading to Raw, and Chelsea Green is also heading up to the main roster, although we don't know where we are at the moment. And I think Wrestling Inc. are also reporting that Io Shirai and Velveteen Dream are also getting called up to the main roster soon, but we're working with our sources to see if there's any truth to those reports. So on the Adam Cole situation, where do you stand on it?
I think to use WWE as a launch pad would be McQuackers, and I've been trying to work a DuckTales reference. I've been thinking it's like watching you speak, being like, how can I? WWE would be a Scrooge if they didn't give him more money.
I mean, you did go with the best character, so kudos to you.
The binding glue that links Darkwing Duck and DuckTales, and of course Gizmo Duck,
yes,
who I believe appears also in Darkwing Duck. But I think us speculating on it is probably good, because us speculating on it is what Adam Cole probably wants. So Adam Cole can show WWE, oh, look at all these reports of me going to AEW. Can I have some more money, please? I don't think Adam Cole's going anywhere personally. I know nothing of the situation, but he spent a year as NXT champion. I think it's fairly clear that WWE see something in him. I know that like main roster guys, if people go to the main roster from NXT, that is not a guaranteed level of success. But I would say more NXT champions than not succeed on the main roster. Obviously, you got Seth Rollins, Big E took the scenic route, but he's there. Bo Dallas, no, that's true. Finn Balor did pretty well.
Sami
Samoa
Zayn.
Joe did pretty well.
But did Balor do well? Like he had his Universal title, 24-hour period. He had his Kane run before he had to drop the belts for
it wasn't
an injury.
It wasn't designed as a Kane run.
No. But then and then he was mid-carder for life after that. Sammy and Owens are also mid-carders for life.
Owens is not a mid-carder for life. They almost whacked the WWE Championship on him at WrestleMania before Kofi Mania took hold. Don't you give me that. I don't know. It's for me. I doubt it. I agree. Like he's not the archetypical guy that gets pushed on the main roster, but he does also have the biggest catchphrase in wrestling. I think there's plenty of merch bucks in Adam Cole, just Bebe shirts. Like I don't see WWE wanting to give him up at all. Like there's already rumors of them making offers to guys that they've let go because they just don't want them. Like they don't want Angle working for AEW. Like that. He can't go anymore, but they're so desperate to not have him be associated with that brand. They're going to throw money at him. And I absolutely believe that's going to be the thing with Cole as well.
Yeah, no, I completely agree with you on that one. I as much as I'd quite like to see Cole in AEW, obviously his girlfriend Britt Baker is over there. I just had to quickly Wikipedia what the state, because I've always referred to him as girlfriend, and some people corrected me saying that they're married, but according to Wikipedia, they're not. So I'm going to go with that as the all-knowing source. So his girlfriend is there in AEW, but yeah, I kind of see him as a WWE guy now. And I don't think that he could go across to AEW. Maybe it's the Randy Orton thing we had last year, where Orton spent a few months posting on social media that he's negotiating with AEW, effectively, posting photos of him with the Elite and in sort of hotels and stuff. And then, Tony Khan effectively confirmed, saying that he was just playing both sides against each other. He went to AEW to negotiate a contract with them so he could take it to WWE and be like, look at the money they're offering me. Can I have more? And WWE said, yeah, of course you can.
Yeah, it's the oldest trick in the book. Oh, speaking of which, Sean Ross Sapp offered me $50,000 a year to work for Fightful, just to let you guys know my contract is up in August. So that's just something to think about. He really likes, my presentational style.
Cool. I just need to message Ollie about something unrelated, but I just need to quickly send.
Hashtag Dong Lord for life.
You wouldn't want to work with Sean.
I don't want to work for Sean, but working with Sean to kind of like give Fightful the rebrand it so sorely needs. I'm more than happy.
Fightful, semicolon, in need of a likable personality. Just kidding. I love Sean, really.
What's one more smarmy white guy, eh? That's the way brands succeed. Just slap a bit of me on there. Yeah.
So I can't see Cole going up, even if his contract is up in August. I could definitely see him re-signing. And you said there, like, Cole has got a lot of marketable ability about him, particularly just even around Bebe t-shirts, but just the Undisputed Era as a whole. Like, if there's one thing that has been sort of like proven over time with WWE is if you introduce a faction in a cool debut angle, they will get massively over. The Nexus got massively over because they were a team of nobodies and Wade Barrett, and they got over like Rover because they were debuted in a really cool angle. The Shield, as outside of Rollins, like Ambrose, you could argue, had some traction because he had some fans of his from CZW, but like no one knew who the heck Roman Reigns was. But all three of them became massive stars off the back of them taking that group seriously and pushing them as a legit thing. You can do that with Undisputed Era and sell a boatload of merchandise off the back of that.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Like I think they pulling them all up at the same time, like, it does make me a little scared for what they'll leave behind in NXT. Just like, oh no, where did everybody go? But
they called up Sasha Banks, Charlotte, and Becky Lynch all at the same time, and then they were like, "Oh no, our women's division, we have no one left."
We've got Asuka, and oh no,
Bailey, you better stay here. You need.
I think I would rather see Yui all go up at the same time and have a proper main roster run as a faction. You're absolutely right, because I think there is there's shock the system t-shirts to be sold, damn it, and I think it would essentially give them a hard reset. Like their chemistry is still so on point. Like their promos from Wednesday's NXT was really, really good. Just them being dicks in a restaurant during a pandemic as well, which I didn't realize when I first watched it, but they're in a restaurant in a pandemic being assholes. It's really great. Yeah, I think there's a lot of mileage on them as hot scumbag, but incredibly talented heels. Like obviously with the reports of Dream going up to the main roster, I don't think it's yet. I think there's got to be a change in NXT champion first. And I think we know who that's going to be, or at least I know who I hope it's going to be.
And
do you think
is limitless?
He is limitless. Who is he? Who's that man I see? Rhetorical question, because we all know the answer is Keith Lee.
Yeah. It's very rhetorical. And Io Shirai going up, I can certainly see being the case, because like for my NXT predictions, I wasn't part of the that predictions video because I'm not a mark. So but I have done my Wrestle League predictions where I have predicted for Charlotte Flair to retain.
I'm not a mark, Luke Owen.
2020.
I've picked Rhea for that because I think Charlotte's going to lose for the same reason that I think a lot of people picked Io Shirai, but I think they're going to put it on Rhea and then maybe put it back on Charlotte. Anything to edge closer to 16, you know.
I see where you're going with that. No, I'm actually thinking Flair's going to have the belt until Mania next year, and then you have perhaps Rhea win it off her then.
Ooh. I just felt like someone walked over my grave there for a second.
I mean, I'm one of those people that I keep putting these sort of terrible ideas out into the ether, and like I was the one who said, yeah, I think Goldberg might beat the Fiend for the Universal Championship to have a match with Reigns at WrestleMania, and we nearly had that.
Thank you for putting that energy into the world.
You're very welcome. And yeah, I've also got Cole to retain as well over the Velveteen Dream. I just don't see Dream as NXT champion, but I can see Dream heading up to that main roster if these reports are to be believed. And I could certainly see Dijak being one of the people to answer Apollo Crews' US challenge that he's doing.
Yeah. Oh my God, that'd be a great match.
Yeah, really, really good stuff. Speaking of AEW and NXT, AEW on TNT this week averaged 730,000 viewers, which is down nearly 12% from the previous week. And NXT came close, but they averaged 715,000 viewers for the Takeover In Your House Go Home show. Overall, broadly, sort of, what were your thoughts on this week's NXT?
I liked it a lot. I've heard some criticisms of it, and I know that something that me and Pete have spoken about before is that its general booking style seems to have changed a bit. It does have a few more main roster tropes than it used to. A few more frenetic brawls, few more disqualifications, few more singles matches which set up tag matches. But hang on a second. Let's see if it's still online. Yeah, there it is. It's a sad day when you have to download this GIF to use in an NXT review podcast.
Yeah.
Not that I don't like Teddy Long, but I thought it was like it made me hyped to really hyped to watch the special show, which is all you can ask of a go home show. Really, there was a really good video package with Velveteen Dream and the Undisputed Era. There was a 3-way really good package for the women's triple threat. Johnny Gargano hit Keith Lee in the eyes with his car keys. There are a couple of good matches, like obviously the Drake Maverick, depending on where you stand, the Drake Maverick stuff is either incredibly compelling telly or incredibly gross telly, and to be honest, it's somewhere in the middle, but the matches are very, very good. And yeah, like it's Breezango returned as sexy astronaut. You can't I really like NXT. I don't like NXT even a quarter as much with no fans. I feel I miss the fans more on NXT than I do on the main roster.
Yeah,
for sure. And it's very weird to see a bunch of NXT developmental people in the crowd, because it's so weird to have like, because the part of the joy of NXT is the fact that everyone's so enthusiastic about everyone, whereas this new kind of piped in hire a crowd has they're booing all the heels and cheering all the faces, and it makes me just feel like, oh, you guys are marks.
Well, let's dive into the Patreon mailbag. If you want to submit a question to the mailbag, all you've got to do is become one of our awesome pledge hammers on Patreon at any dollar amount. And and then you just leave your comment in the community tab labeled mailbag. Do not email me. I will just lose it. I'm not good at my job. I'm not asking Fightful for a bigger contract offer. First up, Dre Smith says, "Hey guys, thank you so much for the content. I didn't watch a single piece of wrestling after Jinder versus Randy Orton in the Punjabi prison match, and I didn't return until a video my little brother sent me of a link to your news that literally got me back into wrestling. Sorry about all that, but I just wanted to ask, when you took a break from wrestling, do you remember why? And if it's a match, do you remember the match or the wrestling scene at the time?" I do. I know exactly what it was when I took my break.
Go on.
Raven lost his loser leaves WWE match against Tommy Dreamer. That was I remember reading that on WWE.com being like, I think I'm done now. But really the match was Hogan winning the Undisputed title in 2002, where I was like, and I'm done.
So I was watching it then. I think I kept watching a little bit longer because I remember I was still around. So I've left wrestling twice. I think I kept what made me come back both times. Punk made me come back the second time. I remember that. And then the time before that, I think it was Rey Mysterio made me come back the first time, like his world heavyweight stuff. I was like, oh, that's cool. So I came back around WrestleMania 22. But I left before Cena. So I can't remember when I think I left around about the time. I think it was around the time Brock and Goldberg did their thing. And I was just like, that's really weird. And yeah, I think it wasn't like, I don't think I was even mad at WWE either. Like, I don't think there was a thing that made me just like put down my pencil and just go, no, I'm done now. I think it was just a case of like in 2004, I was getting into my A levels, and I was just like, I don't have time for this. And so yeah, I left for a few years, came back with Rey Mysterio. I always watch the Rumble every year. Like I've never missed a Royal Rumble. It's the greatest. And then I left. I think probably around 2000. I think John Cena Umaga was like, I was like, I think I'm done here again. So I only stuck around for like a year. I saw the whole John Cena stuff, and I was just like, oh, everyone's booing the champion all the time. This sucks. And then I left again. And then that was a long break. Came back with Punk. So I did manage to miss 2009 and 2010 though.
Oh
So
no!
lucky me. Awful years.
Oh, it was bad. Manraj says, "Hey guys, commentators often put over that no one has ever kicked out of the one-winged angel, except for Ibushi years ago in DDT, I believe. This leads to my question: what other finishers can you think of that have been treated the same way? The pedigree would be my answer. It's a very, very protected move.
Yes, absolutely. I just remember, there's so many cases of people just not kicking out of it forever. Who was it? It was Dolph Ziggler was knocked unconscious by the pedigree at Survivor Series 2014 for, I believe, like 12 minutes or something crazy. Obviously, you have the Booker T being pinned after 23 seconds. Daniel Bryan was like knocked out for 5 minutes at the end of SummerSlam when they did the cash in. The pedigree, man, kills people.
It's devastating.
It's a real world ender. The KO punch is quite sadly protected. I think the jackhammer is also, the version of the jackhammer that Goldberg does nowadays, a suplex.
Even when it's just a suplex, it's still devastating, though.
Yeah, right. It's the way he lifts them up and then drops them.
Yeah. It's the way he clumsily puts them down.
The KO punch, man. That's like, I can't remember people kicking out of that. That's a good answer. A couple of really depressingly protected moves.
Well, Aliada has got a few predictions for us. One of which is that Matt Riddle's first feud is going to be with King Corbin, because Corbin pinned him at Survivor Series and also eliminated from the Royal Rumble. Is that true? Did Corbin also eliminate him at Survivor Series? Good Lord. Man. Deary me. And his other prediction is that Lana is going to interrupt between Bobby and Drew, costing Bobby the match that's going to lead to a divorce. And prediction 4, Corey Graves is the hacker. He says, keep up the good work. Is there another way for me to donate while Quizlemania is live? Because in Pakistan, we don't get the option to donate via Super Chat to be safe and healthy. You can do it via, no, not that one. You can do it, no, not that one. You can do it via this, WrestleTalk.com/support, and you can get it through there. You can leave a Super Chat from that. Thank you very much for also dropping in a Rainmaker. But yeah, I mean, I kind of predicted as well that Matt Riddle's first feud is going to be with King Corbin, or it's going to be with Dolph Ziggler, because Dolph Ziggler is kind of the NXT call-up measuring stick. Everyone feuds with Ziggler when you first go up. And or Corbin, because I forgot about the Survivor Series thing, but yeah, he did also eliminate him from the Royal Rumble.
I don't want to remember Ziggler Nakamura's feud. I don't want to remember it. It was oh man.
But was it worse than the Bobby Roode feud?
Oh, who did he feud with first? Was it Sami Zayn first?
No, it was Dolph Ziggler.
Was it really?
Because Ziggler was all about his flashy entrances thing.
It should have been him. Oh man. I know who I want him to feud with first. I'd really like him to feud with Shinsuke Nakamura first. That would be nice. Let them just kick each other to death. Or, have him feud with Daniel Bryan or Drew Gulak or Cesaro. How about Cesaro? He's on SmackDown. Not the King.
I was surprised that they didn't just put him into the IC title tournament. Like, if you want to establish someone, just putting him in that tournament and having him win, like, that already establishes him on the main roster. And he's got a title, and he can then defend that title and then go into a feud with Sami Zayn when Sami is back in. Like, there's ready-made stuff for him there, as opposed to feuding with Corbin. Owen says, first thing I want to say to Luke, that as a long-time listener and a humongous basketball fan, I'm not offended by you not knowing much about the sport. Thank you very much, Owen. That was in reference to someone has tweeted me to say that they're not watching the show anymore because I don't know enough about basketball.
What?
Yeah.
Okay.
My question is
buckets.
What if WWE expand the Brock Lesnar treatment to all of their champions, where they don't wrestle any TV matches? They can wrestle dark matches to send fans home happy when fans can attend shows again, and they're still on TV, but they don't wrestle. They will, however, always wrestle on pay-per-view events, Backlash, Extreme Rules, SummerSlam, and so on. So yeah, so could you see? He adds, I imagine this idea won't be popular with most, but I feel that the idea that the champions and their matches will feel more special as these events, where they currently feel like extensions of Raw and SmackDown.
I think you're getting towards the right idea. I don't. I think the sponsors of the show might be a little upset if the champions never wrestle on the weekly TV. I do get it. Like obviously, like you had way back when you had shows like Superstars, where like the champs would occasionally appear, but more often than not, you would save, Hogan wrestling for something like Saturday night's main event or something like that. And I think that generally speaking, there needs to be more Brock Lesnar-y style booking around champions, especially mid-card champions. I feel like they especially with Drew. I think they're booking Drew really nicely. I'm really happy with the way they're doing that. But I think they are having the secondary champions getting involved in main roster feuds way too much, and I think that completely devalues a lot of the secondary and tag team titles. And I think more, I don't think it's a case of keeping champs off telly. I think it's just a case of having clearer divisions, keeping characters within those divisions, locking certain people in divisions for a while, making divisions feel distinct, and thereby making the champion of that division feel more of a big deal.
Chris Gardner says, I've got a crowd-related question. Yay boo spots are always fun to me when the crowd gets involved, but I was thinking about it, none in particular from history. But as I was thinking about it, none from particular from history spring to mind. Can you guys remember a really good yay boo spot that helped build hype for the crowd? It's a simple spot, and it's easily a safe way to start building the pace of a match back up after a period of downtime.
I don't know if you really could classify it as yay boo. It's more yay. But Nakamura Sami Zayn at TakeOver Dallas is one of my favorite two lads punching each other for ages set pieces in the history of wrestling. It's just so wonderful. I mean, Cena does them with everybody.
Yeah, he loves a yay boo spot.
He does. I think they're great, especially because Cena knows that he's probably going to get booed half the time.
Yeah, it's a good point. I can't think of any, aside from the one you just said then, which I actually forgot about, I can't think of any specific examples of a really good yay boo spot.
It's not a yay boo spot, but do you remember I think it was from the pre-show of WrestleMania 33 or 34. I can't remember, but it was Ali versus Cedric Alexander, and instead of yay boo, they were shouting heart and soul at each other.
Do you remember? That's cute.
Heart. So, no, not the crowd. The crowd weren't chanting it. The wrestlers were chanting it at each other.
Oh, I don't remember. Oh, do
you not remember it?
No,
it's amazing. Oh my god, it's one of the worst cases of incredibly cringy booking and agenting. Yeah, no, there was on opposite sides of the rings, and one was the heart of 205 Live, and one was the soul of 205 Live, and they started shouting heart, soul, heart at each other, and it's just my boys, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry if they've done this to you.
I completely misremembered that then, because I mean I don't even remember them doing a yay boo spot, but yeah, you saying me that the crowd would get chanting heart and soul, I was like, oh, that's quite cute. The wrestlers, on the other hand, doing it is not quite so cute. That's quite bad. Matt Netic Field says, hello, Luke, Ollie, Adam, Pete, and the WrestleTalk team. Apparently, in an interview with VP Show, Darren Young mentioned that there were plans for the Nexus to return at WrestleMania 36 this year, but due to the outbreak, those plans were scrapped. Just imagine the pop. How would you book the reformation, and would you have all of the original members or not?
No, I'm okay without seeing Ryback on my TV again.
Yeah,
that's fine.
I think the days of the Nexus might be done, to be honest.
Yeah, the problem is, only one member of the Nexus, one member of the Nexus can probably get by on a return spot, and one member of the Nexus is still taken seriously to this day. do remember that the original Nexus was made up of David Otunga, Heath Slater,
Michael Tarver.
Michael Tarver, Skip Sheffield. Like, nothing against these guys as athletes, obviously, but it's been so long that they've been booked as irrelevant in WWE that it is going to be difficult to kind of take them seriously as like a hype-worthy force. I think maybe what people talking like a rebranded Nexus. It's just like, if you're going to do a faction, just come up with a new faction. Like, Nexus has got baggage. It became the core. You don't want it to be like the core.
The core with 2 R's.
I'll be around the days.
Good Lord. Callum, after Cody said that anyone in AEW can answer the TNT challenge, do you think we'll see someone from New Japan answer? And who would you like to see answer? Mine would be Okada, Ospreay, or Joey Ryan. I definitely cannot see it being Okada. Like, I feel like that's too big of a match to just have as a TNT championship match. I feel like having Okada in AEW feels like that should be a pay-per-view main event. For like All Out or something. But yeah,
he'd be a great champion if he wasn't retired. Shibata. He'd be just a perfect TNT champion.
Yeah, good old Shibata. Ospreay's a good shout though, and Joey Ryan would be a lot of fun as well. But yeah, who else would that? I'd love for Sammy Callahan to answer. I think that'd be great, especially like thinking of people from Impact. I think Flip Gordon from Ring of Honor.
They still got the working relationship with AAA, right? So they could bring in some of those big guys. Is Tejano still a big deal in AAA? Like, AAA, I know nothing about, and I don't want to pretend like I do, but I know that he was a big deal in Lucha Underground. So he seems like Jeff Cobb. Is Jeff Cobb still with AEW?
Well, he did. He just did one show, but apparently he's sort of like in contract limbo at the moment. But I think he likely will go work with Ring of Honor again.
Are you thinking about it? Because, like, obviously we could do with the exposure.
Yeah. I mean, after I saw that Simon Miller was thinking about it, I was like, well, why not me then? I mean, he's got actual training and has got a good physique, but I'm bald, so I could also answer.
What you should do is you should answer for Simon Miller, set up the match, and then just send him. Split the winner's purse 50-50.
Abhiram said, I'm typing this up right before the fan appreciation live stream wearing my support WrestleTalk Screw Coronavirus shirt, and I just want to tell you guys how much I love you. Now on to less important stuff. Do you think Murphy should take Seth's old Burn It Down theme?
No.
Yeah, I'm also going to say no on that one as well.
I
think them coming out as a group. Yeah, I think them coming out as a group to Seth's music makes more sense.
Yeah, if you're a faction, everyone has the faction music. That's how that goes.
Austin Tusty says, do you think the Inner Circle are on the verge of becoming a babyface team? They keep doing fun segments like Bubbly Bunch and the Pep Rally. Everyone enjoys these the same way they did Jericho and Kevin Owens segments. If people enjoy and laugh at these segments and give them face reactions, are they really heels anymore? It's the old NWO curse of, like, you become cool heels and people start to cheer you, but you are still heels. You're just heels that are being cheered.
I think if anyone treads that line like better than anyone else, I think in the business it's Chris Jericho. Like, they're obnoxious. They are funny. They are, I like having them on my TV screens. But then, they know when to muck around and when to do something very, very serious. I think, generally speaking, let's not view this period of wrestling history as too canon, because you saw Jericho, right? He had a little bit of the bubbly, and then he stabbed John Moxley in the eye, and then he did the Bubbly Bunch, because these shows need to be fun, because nothing in the world is fun right now. And then when wrestling returns, we'll probably see the Inner Circle be a little bit more serious, but it's just like, don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. It's as make the TV good, please, especially now.
I've just had a message from Pete as well, so you can rest easy, Adam. It looks like Dominion is going to win the Patreon poll for WrestleTalk Extra, which means we won't have to rely on you to come on and talk about WCPW Fight Back.
Nothing against WCPW. I really don't want to see myself cut a promo again.
Dylan from Cork says, Orange Cassidy might be my favorite wrestler in the world right now. I get so much enjoyment watching his matches and always get excited when he appears on screen. Fun fact for you, Dylan, and for you, Adam. In The Observer this week, Meltzer said that the segment in which Orange Cassidy rolled back into the ring for the end of the Battle Royal last week did over 1 million viewers. Orange Cassidy is a draw.
Funny don't make money, so they say.
What are some of your dream matches for Orange Cassidy? Opponents could be from any promotion. One match I would pay good money to see is Orange Cassidy versus Walter.
Oh, that's the thing. I think you want to see Orange Cassidy versus people who look like they'll clean their teeth with Orange Cassidy. I mean, dream match, Cassidy versus Brock.
Yeah.
I just want to see the kind of stuff that him and Paul Heyman and Brock would cook up. I think that would be just amazing.
We nearly got my dream match over WrestleMania weekend before everything kicked off, which was going to be Orange Cassidy versus Minoru Suzuki. We nearly got that match. I'd love to see him work with Suzuki. That'd be amazing.
That'd be so good. He'd be a great TNT champion.
Or Suzuki or Cassidy?
Suzuki. I mean, Cassidy as well.
I mean, maybe they have done this and I just haven't seen it. And if they have, please do link it to me. Cassidy versus Toriano would also be a lot of fun because that is two very, very silly gimmicks and they would have very, very silly gimmicks. Like the match between Cassidy and Colt Cabana is so fun. And like Cassidy versus Jarvis is incredible because they're comedy wrestlers doing amazing comedy. So yeah, so I'd like to see, if they have done with Toriano, please let me know in the comments and send me a link to it.
How about Orange Cassidy versus Cheeseburger as like an all produce match?
Love it. Dylan also adds as well, lastly, on a side note, I just want to say that I loved the support each other Q&A stream on Monday. It's been a stressful time for me at work recently, but my WrestleTalk family never fails to put a smile on my face. I'm incredibly proud to be be part of such a fantastic community. I suffer from borderline personality disorder, which can be overwhelming at times, but whenever I'm listening to the WrestleTalk podcast or watching your videos, it all allows me to forget my problems for a while. Well, thank you very much, Dylan. We really appreciate all of your support, man. Hope you're doing well, and Ashleen as well. Matthew Flynn, actually, Ashley's got a question in this mailbag as well. Matthew Flynn says, hey guys, I've been watching since Ollie was on his lonesome. Finally became a Patreon after listening to the Invasion podcast that you put out on Monday. Great stuff. Can you see Kevin Owens getting back into the main event scene of WWE or maybe go to AEW in a few years?
Well, apparently he's mid-card for life.
Dude, all I'm saying is that like he won twice at WrestleMania against Seth Rollins, and they had no plans for him after that. But Seth Rollins, on the other hand,
got injured at WrestleMania.
Yeah, but okay, and he's come back, and what's he done since? He's tagged with Apollo to further Apollo storyline. But like, you know what I mean? And like Seth Rollins, on the other hand, who lost twice at WrestleMania, had a WWE Championship match at the next pay-per-view. Like they clearly had plans for Seth. And no plans for Owens.
He'll be world champ again. You mark my words. I'll make it happen. I don't know how.
Lynn says, hi everyone. As June is my third month of being a pledge ham, I'm still new to Wrestle League, in which I'm currently doing quite well. Yay for me. My question is, in the list of player standings, it's naming me as my real name, not my username that I use for everything. Is there a way I can change it that I haven't figured out yet? I would email andy@wrestletalk.com about all Wrestle League stuff. And she adds, thank you for the PS4 game suggestion last week, Adam. I'm constantly dying while playing the first Uncharted, but I'm dying less now than when I got it yesterday.
Oh, great. Oh, man. If you like the first Uncharted game, you're in for a treat. Because from 2 onwards, they are just a regular game of the year. They are spectacular.
Fun fact for you, I've only finished the first one.
Luke, play more
mate.
video games.
Well, no, I did start the second one. I just didn't get very far into it.
It's why it starts so well.
But here's the thing though, like I think the Uncharted. I've said this about Breaking Bad as well to Ollie because I've only just started watching Breaking Bad, 10 years after it finished or whatever it is, and I think actually now in 2020 the show is fine. But if you'd watched it when it first aired, then it would have been like, oh my god, this is a groundbreaking TV show that is just like changing the game for everything. But now watching it with sort of 10 other years of other great television, it does seem like every other TV show. And I think the same with Uncharted. Like, I'm playing Uncharted in the year 2019, many years after the game had come out, and now it just seems fine. Like, it's good. And don't get me wrong, it's good. But I think if I'd have played them at the time, I might have enjoyed them more.
I think that holds up definitely more for Uncharted. I do think Breaking Bad, like once you get into like end of 3, season 4, becomes like, I think, gold standard telly from like that would hold up to any thing. I think the first maybe season or 2. Actually, I don't know. First season's great. Season 2 dip. Third season, fourth season, and then by the time, and then at that point, you're just in it. I think a little bit like The Wire in that regard. It's just like there comes a point where you just be like, oh, this is my life now. I have to watch all of this all the time. But yeah, like okay, Luke. Okay.
It's no Doom, I can tell you that much. Dylan,
Still haven't played Doom Eternal.
Yeah, me neither, mate. Not played that. Not played the Final Fantasy VII remake. I'm way behind on things, massively at the moment.
PS Plus wise, I've just downloaded Battlefront, Star Wars Battlefront 2. So I'm looking forward to dipping into that. And then yes, I have to get off the pot and play The Last of Us again because the second one's coming out, and I got to play that when it comes out because otherwise everyone will spoil the rest of it for me. Video games are an obligation. never forget that.
Dylan says, hey guys, long time listener and your newest pledge hammer. My first mailbag question: what wrestler made a strong first impression on you? And he talks about how he was at a independent show and saw a wrestler that like he was super impressed with and started doing an amazing heel work, and that turned out to be MJF, who's now one of the best heels in AEW. So if you went to a independent show and saw a wrestler that made like a really strong first impression of you, where you're like, oh, they're going to be a big deal. I mean, for me, it was Keith Lee. It was seeing Keith Lee at Rev Pro and being like, oh, this dude is amazing. He should be a world champion in a major company.
Yeah. I remember we had him on, I think the first time we had Keith Lee on was part of the WCPW World Cup. And the main event match between him and Ricochet was just,
yeah.
Like phenomenal. And just, I remember after that show, I just went up to him and said, hello, you're my new favorite wrestler now. And he went, thank you very much. And then I immediately walked away because I was intimidated by Keith Lee.
One of my favorite show memories is me and Ollie hanging out with Keith Lee after Avengers Infinity War had come out. And it was just us sharing a drink and just geeking out over how good the film was.
I want to do that.
Flaming Clive says, hey Adam, I want to say thank you for all that you do. In mid-2015 my mother died from suicide, and she was my mental support net as I too was suicidal. Your videos on What Culture kept me going through my time of grieving, and I wanted to say that with all due respect, you are one of the greatest people I know in life. If it wasn't for your cheerful attitude and charismatic personality, I probably wouldn't be here right now. So again, thank you for everything.
Oh, you're really welcome. Well, I like the sort of prefacing that with all due respect made me a little bit on edge there for a second, because that normally comes before saying something bad. But that's you're welcome. Of course, you're welcome.
Mailbag question from Flaming Clive. There has always been something I've wanted to know. If you had a time machine and could do anything you want that wouldn't change the timeline, crucially, what would you do? I'd like to go see Frank Sinatra in concert, tell myself to eat better and work out more. I've had this question sort of asked previously. Like, if you could go to any gig from history, what gig would you go to? And my answer is always Nirvana at Reading 92 would probably be my answer, because I've got that on DVD, that show, and I listen to that live album a lot. And I wish, bearing in mind I live in Reading, I wish I could have been there, but I was too young.
I wish I could have seen Queen in concert. That would have been just phenomenal. Like slightly less, but still, like, I wish I could have seen Scissor Sisters in concert before they broke up. If I could go back to time machine and could do anything you want.
I've just pulled up like the Reading 92 card they had, and like on that day it was Nirvana, Nick Cave, Mudhoney, L7, the Melvins. Would have been an absolutely amazing day. And yeah, on the Saturday, Public Enemy. were the headlining act. Manic Street Preachers, Smashing Pumpkins, Rollins Band. Oh man, what a great weekend that would have been.
What were you doing that weekend in real life?
So, I mean, bank holiday of 1992. God, I have no idea. I mean, I would have been 6. So probably playing Mega Drive because I got my Mega Drive for Christmas 91. So
Probably shaving your head, right?
Yes, yeah, I was very bald at a very young age.
If I could go back in time, I love these kind of questions. I would like to go back and watch Empire Strikes Back in the cinema when it first came out. Be part of like one of the greatest twists, reveals of all time. You know, stuff like that, just like little cultural things. What else?
Yeah, there's actually quite a few because, like you mentioning that, there's always a picture that gets shared around on the internet a lot of my favorite cinema in the world, the Prince Charles Cinema, of them doing. I think it was either the premiere or like a very special showing of Evil Dead when that first came out.
Oh,
They've got like the Evil Dead written up on the marquee and everything, and that always just looks amazing. Like I'd love to have seen that because it's such a beautiful cinema. And seeing the Evil, I mean, I've seen the Evil Dead there since, but I don't think it's quite the same as seeing it at the time of release. Nicholas Walton says, if you could have one legendary independent tag team join the AEW tag ranks from this list, who would it be? The American Wolves, Motor City Machine Guns, Steen Erico, or the Kings of Wrestling?
It's between 2 and 4.
That's what I when I first read this question, I was like, oh, it's clearly the Motor City Machine Guns. But then I was like, oh, but also Hero and Claudio. That'd be amazing to have the Kings of Wrestling back.
Yeah,
but I do love the Machine Guns.
Okay, well, you can go with Machine Guns if you want, because I think I'm going to go with Kings of Wrestling, mostly just for, to have Cesaro doing, Cesaro. So, like for me, like Cesaro and AEW would be. It's just, I think it's just what he deserves.
Yeah,
you know, please. So yeah, I'll go with Kings of Wrestling because I also really like Chris Hero, and I think it's a shame that even in NXT, we sort of recognizes the amazing work that people have done on the indies.
Yeah,
just Chris Hero, just like even him crashing and burning twice in NXT is just really sad.
Oh, that's very sad. Chris says, with NXT being positioned as the third brand and not just developmental now, who do you think should be traded from SmackDown for Matt Riddle and who from Raw for Dijak? NXT is clearly still the developmental brand because no one is being traded to them.
Balor,
Well, I don't think that quite like Balor wasn't traded to Raw; he just went there.
Yes, that's true.
And Charlotte is just, she's everywhere at the moment. So, like, I think the NXT being positioned as the third brand is very much lip service because it's still very much developmental. As much as I think it should be the third brand, it's not. It's amazing to think that NXT is not on the same level as ECW in 2009, where like main roster stars were actually traded to ECW. 2007 rather. But who would I like to see from? I mean, I'd love to see Cesaro go back to NXT because his NXT matches were just amazing, and like he can go there and just do that indie style that he loves doing. So I'd love to see Cesaro go, or Brian for that matter.
Bloody hell, Zayn. It's his
Yeah.
house. Like, send him back. I'd love to see a heel Sami Zayn being just like, this is the house that Sami Zayn built. I was the greatest, blah, blah, blah. And just have him tear it up down there as like his reinvigorated heel champ. I think that'll be so great. Please.
Joe McCormick says, hey guys, thank you so much for the content you've been doing. You've been putting out during all of this. I was reminded today by a friend that this week, 2 years ago, I attended my first OTT show. It was a great show and I still remember it well. I was just wondering, what was your first independent wrestling experience? And have any of those guys on the show become big stars overseas? Thanks.
My first independent wrestling show was, it wasn't WCPW. It couldn't have been. You go, because I need to think, because I think it might, because my first live show was in the first live wrestling show I went to, I think, was in 2013.
I just had to quickly double check the name of it. Yes, it was Varsity Pro Wrestling. Was the VPW was my first independent show that I went to. I was there for when they crowned their first VPW champion, which was Sean Davari. That was, they did a show in Portsmouth. I wanted it to be my boy Jake McCluskey. So yeah, I think that was probably my first independent show that I went to. But there was no, like, Billy Gunn was supposed to be on the show, but he couldn't make it. Bob Holly was on one of the shows though. They did like a lot of stuff in like local gyms where, you know, like 10 people are there. Very, very small stuff.
Yeah, so when I was growing up in Jersey, there wasn't any pro wrestling there, but there is now. There's Channel Island. What's it called? Jersey's pro wrestling scene is really, really fun. It's very Butland. It's very much kind of like family friendly, but it's really, really sweet. Jersey
Love that. Love Butland. I've been to see wrestling at Butland a couple of times, and it's wonderful.
Yeah, Channel Island's World Wrestling. CIWW. Check them out. They are great. And also, yeah, but so there wasn't any there, and I didn't see anything at Progress when I moved to London after uni. So, gosh, maybe it would be WCPW was my first proper indie show that I attended. Oh, that makes me quite sad, because indie shows are great.
Pratik says, assuming CM Punk and Daniel Bryan did not go through the problems they face, and if they both been wrestling now, do you think they could have been bigger stars? Could either of them have become the face of the company, or would WWE still have gone ahead with Roman Reigns? They would have still gone ahead with Roman Reigns. Like,
yes.
Punk, even when Punk was feuding with the Shield, like Punk tells the story when he was feuding with the Shield, even though he was beating them, he had to make Reigns look strong. And his argument was, well, then just have him beat me.
Same with like Daniel Bryan. Like he won the top belt, but plan always was put it on Brock, then put it on Roman.
Yeah. Marcus Campbell says, with the Slammiversary tease, did you see the tease that they put out? Impact.
Yes, all of the released stars.
Yes. Who would you like to see debut or make their return, and what matches do you want to see? I could easily see Brian Mears and Eric Young fit easily in the X division and face off against guys like Chris Bay, Ace Austin, and Willie Mack. Even if it's a short stint, Gallows and Anderson could have fantastic matches against teams like the Radicals, the North, and TJP Fallah Bahh. I think if Eric Young went back to Impact, which I certainly could see being the case, he's going straight into the main event picture. I think that he is an Impact boy, and I think they would have him as more of a bigger star than not to put down the X division, but I think they would see him as a main event guy as opposed to sitting in the X division. And yeah, I mean, Meltzer kind of wrote about this in the Observer this week, saying that Gallows and Anderson most likely are New Japan bound, but there's nothing going on with New Japan at the moment, so they could have a short stint in Impact for a bit.
I think an EC3 Tessa Blanchard feud would be really great to see. Comes back and being just like, what the hell's happened here since I've been gone? Just like be a really obnoxious, back to his really obnoxious heel days.
Particularly if he brings back Dixie Carter with him as well.
Oh, brings back his aunt. That would be amazing.
Riddle Me This, Matthew says, hey guys, new Patreon here, been listening for quite a while and finally decided to become a pledge hammer. First off, I live in Las Vegas and I'm seated in the Luke section. Bro. Just wanted to ask, what is your favorite Samoa Joe promo? Doesn't have to be a WWE one, but mine is when he told Paul Heyman he's going to choke him out and then choked him out.
There was the one, what was the promo that got him massively over with Brock? It was one where he just like
promo, wasn't it?
I think it was that one where he says just, hey, look at me. And it was just, oh wow.
Yeah, I think that might have been a different one there, but it was in that same fuse. But it was when he just like off mic was just shouting at Paul Heyman, just being like, I'm gonna choke you out now. And this is a message to Brock Lesnar. I want you to tell him what this feels like. And then he just choked out Paul Heyman. And it was all off mic. It was badass.
I mean, I do have a soft spot for Wendy. Wendy. He's done some really great stuff. Like I unfortunately haven't seen much of his TNA run or his ROH run. But those are kind of wrestling artifacts I do want to go and kind of revisit, especially his feud with Brian, which I suppose, as I've heard, is just on a different level. But yeah, his WWE stuff is, yeah, he's got the best intensity. I after we finish watching this, doing this, I'm going to go back and watch that Paul Heyman promo because that's so cool.
I'd also recommend, and you can probably find it on YouTube, I'd imagine, but his first promo he did in NXT when he debuted at Unstoppable, the show kind of went off the air, and then he did it was like a dark match promo thing, and it's absolutely amazing. Like, and the crowd treated him like he was a god. So it's a really, really great promo from him. Christian Baltimore said,
"What was the promo? I think it was a contract signing that he did, where he just walked down to the ring, signed the contract, and then immediately got out of the ring and walked away again. Was that him or was that Kevin Owens?
I can't remember, to be honest.
I think it was him. Ah, that's so cool."
Christian Baltimore says, my first message to the mailbag as a new Patreon member. Watching AEW and seeing Matt Hardy with Private Party was a perfect match for me. Hardy getting older and not being able to wrestle as much, him as a manager for them would be amazing. Along the way, he can help them master the art of tag team wrestling and cut promos for them. Just wanted to get your thoughts on this. Yeah, I'm excited to see what Private Party with Team Extreme era Matt. I'm also hoping they're going to do some fun comedy about this, because Matt Hardy has got this split personality thing going on in AEW. So Team Extreme Matt is now sort of helping out Private Party, but that doesn't mean that Broken Matt Hardy is. So I'd like to see Private Party approaching Broken Matt Hardy, being like, hey, so can we talk about tag team wrestling? He's like, I don't know who you are.
Oh, I would love it if every single iteration of Matt Hardy is managing a different team, and then eventually there comes the match where two of Matt Hardy's teams that he's managing are fighting each other, and he basically has to sort of teleport between the two, and they could do that with camera trickery. It reminds me of this phenomenal match from OTT. Do you remember it? Which is I think it's Angel Cruz and someone else and Tyler Bate versus British Strong Style with Tyler Bate in it. It's a 6-man tag, and Tyler Bate is on both teams.
Amazing. I haven't seen that.
It's one of the great comedy matches of all time. There's just one bit where Angel Cruz just goes under the ring and comes back with an axe and just starts chasing people around. It's 25 minutes of sheer madness. It's really, really good.
Great question here from Alex Kirkman. Favorite Royal Rumble matches? Mine's 92 and 98.
Oh, it's 2001, always.
I was going to say 2001 is an absolutely banging Rumble. Like, even, I know a lot of people dog on it, but the Drew Carey spot is so funny. Like, there's a brief period of time, it's right at the start, where you have Drew Carey coming in and you have the Honky Tonk Man. And there's just so much good stuff around that. The Honky Tonk Man in that Rumble, Jerry Lawler singing along with the Honky Tonk Man theme is so funny.
That's a hot time, man. Just singing for his cousin. It's perfectly timed as well. The song ending with Kane grabbing the guitar and smashing him over the head. The song cutting out the pop. It's perfectly timed.
Yeah.
So many beautiful spots. 2002 also really, really great. Maven eliminating the Undertaker and then getting trucked for it is wonderful.
I actually watched that just the other day, the 2002 Rumble.
It's really good.
Yeah, it is really good. For whatever reason, it's I was doing some work and I was like, I'm just going to watch from Vengeance 2001 onwards. I didn't get very far. I got to No Way Out. But yeah, that 2002 Rumble is really, really strong. It's actually got a really good opening tag match as well between Spike Dudley and Taz versus the Dudley Boys.
Oh, yeah. Well, 2001, if you're talking about opening tag team matches, Edge and Christian versus the Dudley Boys at Royal Rumble 2001 is one of the greatest. It's still one of the greatest tag matches I've ever seen. And maybe there's nostalgia glasses in there, but it's perfectly booked and everyone's over. It's so great.
And he also asked, what happened to No Way Jose on Quizlemania? It was scheduling issues, unfortunately.
Yeah, afraid so.
Dwayne the Gronk Johnson says, seeing as we, as wrestling fans, always speculate about WWE stars going to AEW, do you guys see the opposite happening and AEW stars jumping to WWE? And if so, who? Funny enough, we had this question right at the start of AEW's launch, and me and Ollie both said Wardlow. Like Wardlow is the first guy to jump across. He's exactly what Vince McMahon likes. He's a big beefy boy. But yeah, I think there's, I mean, for my money on this, and perhaps this is some AEW bias shining through, and that Tony Khan money just, paying for my mortgage. But like it feels like the AEW guys are so loyal to them currently, as it is anyway. Like an MJF would fit wonderfully in the WWE style, but he seems like incredibly loyal to AEW, and for them giving him the opportunity, he's signed a multi-year deal with them. So I can't see it happening. Maybe that will change in 5 years' time, but who knows?
It's such an idea. It's like it's the idea of being a competition to WWE. I think just judging from like how happy everyone appears to be, even at ringside watching the shows, I think that there's an ethos behind the company which I think will breed real loyalty. I mean, obviously, money talks louder than a lot of things. And probably maybe in a few years you could see it, but I think right now it's just it's almost viewed as a sort of movement, right? As a kind of, we have to be the alternative. There has to be an alternative in order to make wrestling better.
Jobber JJ says, my question is about Keith Lee and why he's becoming a Big Show or a Braun Strowman. Vince McMahon did something with him twice and Triple H hasn't really done anything with him. Should he go to Raw or SmackDown?
Wait, Triple H hasn't done anything with Keith Lee?
I'm guessing Jobber JJ is suggesting that he's not NXT champion. And I mean, I think that he's for the last year or so, he's been getting a great run in NXT.
Yeah, he's over and he's a champion, and by all I think everyone's got him pegged to be the next NXT champion. They've taken the nice slow route of him just getting over and over and over, and by having one great match after another until everyone is chomping at the bit to see him win the big one.
He's going to have an amazing match this weekend against Gargano. Good.
I cannot wait.
Ashleen says, I'm still very new to things that are related to wrestling, so apologies in advance if my question sounds silly. I'm a big lover of all things horror, and I loved the Funhouse match with John Cena and The Fiend. It reminded me a lot of the Don't Hug Me, I'm Scared series on YouTube. I really enjoyed all the supernatural side of characters in wrestling, so I was wondering, is there any specific type of character that you enjoy more than others? P.S. I laughed a lot when Ollie found it hard to believe. So this is, if you're not a podcast listener, Ashleen emailed in just recently about meeting Dylan from Corkus, who was one of our pledge hammers, that he was in a pub wearing a Balor Club t-shirt, and she had no idea who Finn Balor was or what wrestling was, but she was really into Irish mythology, and obviously Balor is part of Irish, so she approached him to ask about the Balor Club t-shirt, thinking it was about Irish mythology. Turns out it was about Finn Balor. Ollie refused to believe that was a story. He was like, no woman in this world is approaching a man at a pub who is wearing a wrestling t-shirt. These things don't happen. Actually said, I laughed a lot when Ollie found it hard to believe that I approached a guy in a wrestling t-shirt in the pub. Admittedly, if I'd known it was Balor Club had nothing to do with Irish mythology, I don't think I would have cared half as much as I did.
That's fair. That's fair.
So are there any character types that you sort of gravitate more towards?
Yeah, I'm the same. I really like silly gimmicks taken seriously, I guess, where they have powers and they know how to use them. I like Kane is one of my favorite wrestlers ever. I really liked kind of proper spooky, silly nonsense Undertaker, making blood rain from the ceiling, and teleporting Orton and projecting Orton and his dad in a coffin and stuff. I really dig it. That stuff is really, really fun because I'm a huge fan of kind of B-movie horror, Creep Show, and really high camp silly horror, and seeing that in my wrestling is really, really great. And I also like it when wrestling can actually unnerve me. The Fiend has unnerved me in IRL, watching his SummerSlam entrance when the head lantern comes out for the first time, got a little bit of a chill. I love that kind of thing. So yeah, the Fiend's everything to me right now. but also like I generally like any character that kind of understands how wrestling works, sort of, and their place in it. Like, I don't like just like wrestlers who shoot all the time, but I do like Kevin Owens, like self-aware characters who understand wrestling tropes. And like CM Punk, who says like, "Look, are we going to fight now? Is that what we're going to do? You know, we could do that, or we could, you know, like people who are able to just walk that line between kind of pulling back the curtain and not knowing when to be playful and like self-referential, but also knowing when to be serious. Like though, like that and Supernatural, those are my two kind of favorite types of wrestler.
Yeah, I don't think I can put a finger on the sort of, I mean, the badass trope, I guess, because I'm thinking of like who my favorite guys are at the moment, and it's people like, you know, it's Moxley, it's Hangman Page, it's Darby Allin, the sort of guys that I gravitate, like Drew McIntyre, the guys I sort of gravitate, you just carry themselves like absolute stars and are badasses. And I have the same thing with Austin and Rock back in the day. So I don't know what it is. Like, I don't know if that's my character type, because I also like the goofy side of things. Like, I really liked Supernatural Undertaker. Kane was one of my favorites. I loved. He was just he just looked cool. Like, particularly when he was Vest Kane. Vest Kane is best Kane. And he just looked like an absolute tank of a man. Josh says, obviously everything could change and likely will change after TakeOver, but for now, do you guys think Charlotte being used this much is damaging her career? I get the roster is limited right now, but this has almost seen the levels of overexposed. People are going to turn on her even more, in my opinion. It won't matter to WWE, as we saw this with Roman, but it's still worth pointing out. Yeah,
100%. I was really, really behind Charlotte winning the NXT championship. Really behind it. It's, you know, the most controversial opinion I had of WrestleMania weekend, apparently, according to my mentions. It was. I thought it was really, because I thought, oh, they're going to put her on NXT. We're going to see Charlotte once a week. She's going to have great matches with Io Shirai and all the other people who are down there. But no, she's been on Raw, and she's been on 3 shows every week for the past month. It's pretty insane. Like it almost feels like a parody of John Cena.
Yeah, it doesn't help. It doesn't help as well when you've got the commentators calling her the hardest working woman in sports and things like that. That's when it really starts to grate on you, I guess.
Yeah.
Connor Going, there's a second part to this question that I will try and rush you through because we haven't got a lot of time left. But Connor says, a huge congratulations to WrestleTalk for raising over $7,000 for Karma this week. It was lovely to hear the team talking so openly on Monday night, sharing your own experiences and spreading the love. Watching Ollie struggle to cope with the sincerity as well was a joy in of itself. So this is the second part, Adam, and you'll see why I'm going to try and curb you on this. Secondly, hearing Adam talking about the new board game, The Crew, last week got me excited for physical game nights all over again. In lieu of the above, I'm hosting a virtual games call for my birthday on Sunday, and I was wondering, what games have you guys found that work best, particularly for large groups, in a virtual online setup? I'm even thinking daft party games like somebody names a household object, first person to bring one back wins. Any ideas? Cheers.
So a game called Wavelength is really, really good. Don't know if you'll be able to get it in time. If you're looking for games that would be able to prepare for Sunday, I know that we're running out of time, so I am just going to give you one. Dobbins and Bobbins is my favorite party game for large groups. So what you do very, very simply is you go online to a list of like horses, like, you know, horses that ran, or just like looking at like past Kentucky Derbies or past Grand Nationals, and find 5 ridiculous horse names, but which are real. And then you just get everyone else to privately message you 5 fake horse names that they've come up with. And then you simply run 5 races and you read out everyone's horse names, and people have got to guess which horse is the actual real horse. And if someone gets their horse guessed by someone else, they get a bonus point. You get 3 points if you manage to find the right horse. It's basically what we do for Roster Imposter in Quizzlemania. And for large groups, in a game that is not only free, but is actually works best in a virtual setting, you can't do better than Dobbins and Bobbins. Was that quick enough for you, Luke?
That was absolutely perfect, mate. I'm going to also add to that, there is an online version that you can play of One Night Ultimate Werewolf. And it's all just done through your phone. You don't need to download an app or anything. It's just a browser-based thing, and it works really, really well. My friends and I have played it quite a few times now over Google Hangouts, and it works really, really well, particularly if you know the game. Alex Storm says, for the sake of Luke's wife, he should take next week off to spend a night with her, and in classic WWE style, crown an interim champion for him to face the following week.
Problem is, according to recent news, El Hijo de Fantasma is not an interim champion. He's the cruiserweight champion because they've just kind of stripped Jordan Devlin of it, apparently.
Oh, really?
Well, so there's conflicting reports. So there's reports coming in that, they're just gonna, because the travel ban is taking a lot longer than anyone thought, that they're just gonna go with Phantasma. Because Jordan and keep Jordan Devlin off TV for a little bit, but Jordan Devlin is still on WWE.com. There's conflicting reports, so we'll see how it goes. But I think it would be a total heel move for your Quizlemania champion to take a night off to spend time with the woman who he's been spending nothing but time with for, let's be real, for the past 2 months. I mean, who else have you been seeing, Luke? Exactly.
Well, as I was saying on the call yesterday, I don't think my wife will be quite as bothered about me doing Quizlemania every Wednesday. It's just that I always do D&D on the Tuesday, and I do my own podcast on the Thursday. So there's actually this 3-day chunk where I'm just not seeing her of an evening. I just come and hide in my office for a bit.
Priorities, Luke. What means the most to you? Your Quizlemania trophy, a bunch of dorks laughing over telecoms, or what was the third one? Oh, your podcast. No, I'm not going to riff on your podcast.
Thanks, mate. Ryan B. Bad has got a bit of a theory here. Said, I was rewatching both the videos of Tully and Sean today, and Tully simply saying that the search for Spears was over. He didn't say anything about not finding a partner or anything like that, so I have a theory. I don't know the contract status of Bo Dallas other than his Wikipedia page saying he's with WWE. I think Tully may have found Sean a partner in Bo Dallas because 2 of the 3 men who wear the make the black glove famous, Blackjack Mulligan and Wyndham, are both related to Bo, and he was even wearing a black glove during his Miz-Taraj days. Do you think Tully might have found a partner for Spears in the form of Bo Dallas, depending on his contract status? I'm pretty sure he's still with the company, right?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. So, maybe he was secretly released, but I don't. That certainly wasn't. I don't think that came out. Curtis Axel was, though. And lastly, RLT Sandwich says, "Hey guys, Luke, you mentioned on the AEW podcast that you're rewatching the American Pie movies. It's one of my favorite comedy franchises. Have you seen all 8 films? Which is your favorite? Which is your least favorite? Personally, mine is American Pie 2. My least favorite is The Abomination: The Book of Love. I haven't actually seen any of the direct-to-DVD. I'm a purely canon guy of 1 through Reunion.
They're all canon, aren't they? One of them's Stifler's son or something weird that.
I know Jim's dad's in one of them, but I've heard nothing but bad things about the straight-to-DVD. Maybe I will watch them just out of curiosity because I've never seen them.
One of them's called The Naked Mile. Yes. I know that. I haven't seen it though. I
mean, of main canon, I think the first one really holds up. It's so funny. For a film that came out in 1999, I was 13 when the film came out, so it was just perfect timing for me. I've actually also, fun fact for you, watched that film with my parents.
I genuinely thought you were going to say, I've actually, fun fact for you, made love to a pie.
No, worse. I've watched that film with my parents. It was mad awkward.
How could you? Is that before you knew what it was?
No. It was well after. But I just wanted to watch the movie, and I didn't really just consider it at the time. But then it just got, particularly during the gym stripping sequence, is when it got really awkward.
I can't watch a film with a sex scene in it with my parents. Still, I'm a 31-year-old man. I'm a 32-year-old man. Oh God. But I remember what should we watch? And I always hate it when I pick a film that I've forgotten there's a sex scene in, because my parents don't really know much about films. So they rely, whenever I go home, they rely on me to kind of come up with a film to watch. And I was like, let's watch the original Terminator. That's a cool film. Well, yeah, Terminator is great, but there is also a big sex scene in it with Linda Hamilton and the guy playing. I want to say, what's his name? John
Michael Bean.
Michael. Is his name really Bean?
Yeah, it's like Biehn.
I never heard it actually pronounced out loud. Michael Bean.
It's probably pronounced something else. Someone can correct me. But I've always called him Michael Bean.
Mickey Bean.
Mickey Bean. I actually I laugh out loud every time I watch the American Pie movies, but for whatever reason, it caught me off guard this time. The scene in which Jim's dad is giving Jim the adult magazines. He knocks on the door, and then Jim spends a while sort of moving stuff around and adjusting himself before he says, "Please come in." And his dad opens the door, goes, "Oh, Jim, you're here." And it was Jim's dad is so good. It's like, I want to talk to you about masturbation. But yeah, so go watch American Pie. It still holds up. It's great. But that is all we've got time for on this show. I took away your time to talk about board games, so I could talk about American Pie. Haha, I
won't forget it. I won't forget it.
Thank you all so much for listening. Please click the videos that have appeared on screen to catch up with more awesome WrestleTalk related things. And this button, which will make you a pledge hammer on Patreon. I've been Luke Owen. This has been Adam Blompier, and that was wrestling.